another question for you. Are these so-called social goods or the public goods social goods everywhere? A social good in India, a social service in India, is it a social service in the US, in the UK? Are social goods or public goods social goods for all times, or do they remain as social goods for some amount of time and they no longer remain as social goods after a point in time? We've already talked about social goods, education, health, public distribution of food grain, sewage management, jail management, street lighting, etc. Have such goods and services been always provided by the government? Let's look at what does history say. A study of history and English history, for instance, says in the 1300s, ensuring the cleanliness of paved roads and even the sewers were the responsibility of individuals rather than the government. 1300 we are talking about. And there are also references in England's history to imposition of taxes, not merely collection. Imposition of taxes being outsourced to the freemen. So we see that the phase of the government as defined by the notion of public or social goods keeps changing. There was a time in India in 1970s when the main producer and provider of aerated drinks, the fizzy drinks, was the government. Though it is not necessary that governments should be involved only in the production and provision of social goods, this period to which I have just referred, the aerated drinks production period, was also the period in which the government thought it fit to manufacture television sets, telephone instruments, mini computers. So the question arises, are these things that governments should be doing? These are not public goods. Why would government want to be involved in this? And yet we see that, the example I gave was from 1970s, and we, within a span of less than 3 decades, Indian government's direct involvement in production and provision of such goods has almost ceased. Government doesn't produce television sets anymore. Perhaps it doesn't produce computers either of the kind it used to produce earlier. Certainly it doesn't produce fizzy drinks. So the phase of the government keeps changing. The idea of public goods keeps changing. So the idea of public goods production, provision, it waxes and wanes with changing times, changing political ideologies, changing economic climate, and so on. With the advent of